All right, so welcome everyone. Here is Christy with Planted Places and Robin Joy, Happy Food Chef. And we are here to talk about summer chilled soups and what you can be doing with all the wonderful things you're growing. So Planted members, you guys are growing a lot of herbs and you're growing a lot of basil, as you can see behind me. We're even growing, which is crazy, Robin, we're even growing like spinach. This is a New Zealand spinach that thrives in like 95-degree weather and 100, like it's been so hot here. And like, I'm like, why is it like, it's amazing. It's not bolting. It's not doing, it's just doing what it does. It grows differently than what you're used to with regular spinach. But anyways, I know we're going to talk about spinach today. So I wanted to bring that out because it's like, wow, it's happy and really green and vibrant. And it's an interesting spinach because it's thicker. It's a little fuzzy. So it's obviously protecting itself from the heat. And that's why it grows that way versus the spinach you grow in cool season, you know? So, but let's kind of have you take it away. I know we're going to make it nice and short and sweet for everybody, but talk to us about summer soups and how do you think about it and how you kind of you like to kind of flip it on its head, kind of how you're going to approach it today. So take it away.
Okay, so hi everyone, it's great to be back. So yes, we're going to go from, instead of, when you think of chilled soups, of course the big one is always gazpacho for the summer, and that's a tomato-based soup. We're going to flip it. We're going to flip it over to the green, and we're going to work backwards to the tomato. So it doesn't mean that there won't be any tomato in your soup. It's just the real base is going to be with your greens. So it's going to have your spinach, even romaine lettuce, any of your lettuces, right? Any of your lettuces, any of your greens that you have, parsley. And because parsley can go any which way. So you're going to have your lettuces as your base, right? And then from there, what I always am going to have is either some sort of a little bit of either an onion, someone in the onion family, depending on what we're doing. Okay. So that could be scallions. It could be green onions for, let's say, a Mexican flavor. And this is how we switch it. Because if your base is greens or even peppers, when we get into the season at the end of the summer and your peppers are going, we'll do beautiful green red pepper where the predominance, it's not so much green, it's toward the reds, but it's not your tomato either. Yeah. So you've got all different kinds of chilled, and I'll put them under the label gazpacho, but here's the thing. Okay, so you're going to have your onion family. So whether it's shallot, red onion, scallions, whatever, you're going to pick depending on also some of the herbs. So if you want it more Mexican, you're going to have cilantro in it. If you want to make a gorgeous green, sort of with some tomato in there, but it's Italian flavors, you're going to use all your Italian herbs. So you're going to use your basil. And then if you have, depending on what you have, that is, you know, so tons of basil.
Yeah. Oregano, what about oregano?
Absolutely. All your different Italian spice, you know, herbs that you can put in there.
I'm growing rosemary.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Rosemary, a little bit. Okay. You don't want to overdo it with rosemary, but absolutely. Okay. So you're going to use those for your, let's say, your Italian soups. So this is where you can get really creative with your herbs. And then you use as your bases, you've got your leafy greens. So you have your lettuces or spinach, whatever. It's still in the lettuce family. And then you add a little bit of your other ingredients. Now, and if you want a creamy soup, throw in an avocado.
That's what I was going to ask you. So like when we want to, like, how should we think about the portions of that? Like, so if we want creamier avocado, maybe yogurt, and or
no, I wouldn't be doing. No, the place where I would put your yogurt is just a dollop.
Okay.
And so what I do, and we're going to get into this when we do the recipe next week. So that's going to be our big lesson next week.
Yeah,
when we get that right. So we always have our ingredients that we're going to put in our either Vitamix or however you're gonna use your blender, whatever blender you have. You have your ingredients that are gonna go in that are gonna make the actual soup. But for me, then you have the beautiful choice of, okay, if your soup is more crushed up and you can control it, then I like to have some chopped up vegetables in there. So let's say I am making, hypothetically, a green Mexican gazpacho, right? So I want to use as my base spinach and let's say romaine lettuce.
Okay.
Okay. So then I'm going to add to that, I'll put into the blender some onion. So for that, I might use either red onion or green onion, whatever.
Okay.
But then I'm going to have a little bit of tomato and I'm going to have a little bit of red pepper in that.
Okay. In
But it's just
the
not-
blender, putting in the blender.
In the blender.
Okay.
Absolutely. Then I'm going to take and chop finely hand chop some onion, red bell pepper, or red bell pepper, yellow bell pepper, green bell pepper, because you don't really want the green with the green. I would say green chopped up for when we do the tomato base and it's red. So
Okay.
because on top, we're going to sprinkle those finely beautiful chopped
Ah, after we
to
blend
the
it in.
soup to give it some crunch.
Okay, but you do it after you blend and then
After you
yeah.
blend. And
okay.
same thing, even with your cilantro, or if it's an Italian one, you're going to take some fresh basil and
Mhm.
put that on top, garnish well with your fresh. So that way you get a smooth and chunky texture,
Right.
a little bit of both, which I really like.
Yes, yes. Oh, very
Yeah.
nice. Now, is it so like if and then if I want it, I don't have to add the avocado, right? Like do I need
You
to
don't-
add oil? Do I need to add oil or anything?
No, you can add a little bit of oil, but I think there are other places that you can add your oil. For this, you don't need to, depending on really, some people would float a little bit, but I don't, unless you're using like the most exquisite truffle oil or something.
Yes, yes. Okay. Interesting, because it's like
And
I'm
you
gonna
know
try
what?
this.
And also to garnish on top, you can put some beautiful roasted nuts. So depending, right? So if you're doing your Italian with the basil, you in the oven, you just quickly toast up some pine nuts,
Nuts. Uh-huh.
right? And sprinkle those on top to garnish. If you're doing the Mexican, you would do a different nut. I love to use toasted pistachio nuts, are just so out of this world. So
Yes.
there's all things that you can do to bring the oil instead of putting the oil in.
Right, right. And also to add a little protein.
Right. And if you want to in your gazpacho, you could even, instead of, if you don't want a creamy soup,
Mhm.
you could also just, if you have a firm avocado that's still ripe, but it's firm, take it and make little chunks,
Okay.
cut it and put that
Put
as
that in.
well.
Mix
And you
that
just
in.
when I always serve it with a spoon, because if it has some chunkiness to it, and I just spoon it as a cold soup, and then you just
Wonderful.
hit that creamy avocado in there as a surprise. It's yummy.
Oh, it sounds delicious. And I think that, so one thing that I've noticed that happens to me, and you know me, I'm more of the novice. So if I'm getting my romaine and I'm getting my spinach leaves and I've got my onion and I put that in the blender and I've got a Vitamix. So I don't need to add any liquid to that
Yeah, you will be adding some liquid. You're going to be
Okay.
adding, also, you can be adding garlic. You're going to be adding either some sort of a touch of an acid, whether it's lemon, lime, vinegar.
Okay.
You're adding a little bit of that. And then, you also, we're going to be using dill. We're going to be using celery and cucumber. That's where you get your liquid.
Got it. Oh, that makes perfect sense. 'Cause
That's
your
going in,
water.
right.
Yeah.
So especially cucumber, that's what's really, and depending on the size, and we'll talk about it more in the lesson, but depending on the size of the cucumber, what you're using, sometimes you want to take out the seeds. You cut it in half and there's a way to beat it out, scrape out the seeds, and then you use, but that is what the cucumber and celery is just. So those are
great. Yes.
with your lettuces.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
you're going to get your vinegar or your lemon and lime whatever the acid is that we're going to throw in there. And sometimes to cut it, if we need to, we might throw in a date.
A date. Oh,
Just
wow.
to-
Okay. All right. And
If we need to cut that acidity, we'll throw in a date.
okay, interesting. That is a great tip. Great tip.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. And so this is going to be the recipe that we're going to have actual tutorial on next week for our members, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful. So what I think might do too, give everybody a heads up if they like a shopping list, if they need to go get a cucumber or celery or something like that too. That will be, I mean, it's a helpful thing. Onion, cucumber, celery, these are the kind of staples you want to have with you. And then everything else is off your wall or your containers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
you'll get the whole recipe and all of that, for next week. That'll come with the recipe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's give them also a sneak out next week, since we're going to be going live again next week, and we're going to be talking to Karen. In terms of doing that live interview that we're doing with her. Do you want to just spend a minute or so telling people?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I have brought in, because I'm connected to a whole community of practitioners and whatever in the holistic world. And, we're really at a very interesting time when it comes to food, because quite honestly, one of my favorite people, favorite doctor of mine, who I won't mention his name yet, but in one of his interviews at the end of it, and I mean, this man is such a scientist, and he's at the top with the top people in the world. But you know what? Again, at the end of the day, we are really at the beginning of really understanding food. We really don't know anything. And that's one of the reasons I always say I don't talk about the health part of it. I think it's pretty clear as a big generalization that eating more vegetables, fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, things that nature gave us are healthier for us than packaged fake
Well, and
food.
also you just
Right.
feel it. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, to a certain
Yeah.
extent, like I'm a living example, like you just feel it. You feel a lot, you're eating a live food and you feel it. You feel alive. You feel really healthy and you look healthy. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's
Yeah.
pretty clear that that is healthy, but the
Mhm.
science of it, we're just starting to understand. But the woman that I'm bringing in next week, her name is Karen Gallagher, and she is an amazing woman, because not only is she has a master's in nutrition and is a nutritionist, but she also she has a master's degree in herbal medicine. So she brings those two worlds together, and she's
Yeah.
just a science geek beyond. So bring her,
Right.
and we're going to bring her in because generally I talk about the fact that, well, we know these things. I'm just going to assume that these things are healthy. They're not in a package. We're growing our own food. I know in my heart of hearts, I don't need science to tell me that it's
Yeah.
healthy. I know that.
Right.
My big thing is, okay, how do we make it taste great? Because most people, that's where they don't have.
That's what I love about what you're doing. If you can make the food taste good, then people will eat it. Right. Right. Especially kids. Yeah.
Anybody. I mean, I deal with more adults every day who, they won't ascribe to the way that I eat. So it's just, but if they were to try the food, and even someone made a comment, because even with the lasagna that we did, they're like, don't call it, because it sets you up. And that's why I don't even like to call the green soup gazpacho, but I also don't like to call it green soup.
Oh, right.
So
Exactly. There's people who attach connotations. Right. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Because the problem is that if you think that you're going to eat lasagna, you think of a regular lasagna, right?
Right. Right.
Well,
That's where your brain goes.
lasagna
Yeah.
is not real lasagna, but it on its own, like this man that tasted what I had made, he's like, this is delicious. But I wish you had told me it was lasagna.
That's interesting.
So,
well, yeah.
So we're going to talk with her.
Yep.
We talk about some of the medicinal aspects of each of the herbs.
The herbs that we're growing. I'm excited about that because I have questions myself on some of them.